Okay, we're back. So this is part 3 of the series where I'm going to be showing you render settings. This will make it look like 100 times better. This is what really makes it look good. If you actually render it out now, so the render button is the third one here. So if you click on that, you can see that it looks like really bad. So I'll show you how to fix that. Let's go ahead and get started. So the render settings button is right here. This is render settings. It's the one with the little gear. This is all the settings. This is actually to render it out, to save the whole thing. So the middle one with the little box, I guess. And this one is just a preview of what it's going to look like. It doesn't save it, but it shows you what it will look like. So right now we're going to use the render settings one. And I'm going to show you my render settings. These aren't, I don't know if they're the best or they're not the best. These are just render settings that I use. Same with all this stuff. I am not like a professional at Cinema 4D, but I'm still learning. But I think I got a lot of stuff down that could help you. Render settings. So I already have mine saved, so I'm going to load it, and then I'll just go through what they do. So I'll just go to this one. Alright, first, the quality here. So we got width and height. This is pretty much like the dimensions of the picture. This is actually, I think it's like 4K. So if you want your picture to be 4K, you could do that. But if you don't want it to take as long to render out, like for an animation, you wouldn't want it to be 4K because that would take forever to render it out. So you could go to film video, and then you could go to HD TV 720, 29.97, that would be 720p, or you could go to 1080 29.97. So what the 29.97 thing is, that's the frame rate. I guess the frame rate doesn't even matter because you would change it later. But yeah, I have mine on 4K, but you can actually manually change it, so you could delete this and type something in, but I'm not going to do that. Resolution is 72. Film aspect 1.778. A lot of this stuff you just leave at the default. Frame rate, alright. If you're making a still image, like just a render or a wallpaper, something like that, the frame rate does not matter. But if you are making a animation, the frame rate does matter. So 30 is good, but if you want to save time, I'd recommend changing it to 24 because reasons. It'll look pretty much the same as 30, but it won't have to render as many frames. So if I have 90 frames, it won't render out 90, it'll render out like 65. So you save a lot of frames. But yeah, we'll get into that later. Frame range, this can be important too. If you're making a animation, you're gonna want to set this to all frames, or you could set it to manual. So you go from like frame 0 to frame 50, and it'll render out all the frames from 0 to 50. But if you're making an animation, I would just recommend leaving on all frames. If you're making a still image like a wallpaper, leave it on current frame. This can be important because when you click the render button, if you're rendering a still image and you have it on all frames, it's going to fill whatever you have, whatever location you have, with pictures. So you do not want to mess this up. So yeah, still image, current frame, animation, all frames. That's all you need to really know. There's nothing else in there. Save. This is save location. So file. What this is where it's going to save to. So if you click on the 3 dots, you can just select the location. I just save it on my desktop. You could make a new folder if you wanted to, but I just click on desktop here, and then you can name this whatever you want. So render. And what we could do actually is we could save it in the folder. So I have the tutorial world folder, and I have the file and stuff. We get to save it in there. So I selected the thing, so I selected the folder and I put a name, so all I do is click save, and now when I click the middle button here, it's going to save that picture to that folder, so, and it's going to name the picture render. So format PNG, if you're doing an animation, you could do AVI. You could also do, if you're doing a still image, you could do JPEG, but I just leave it on PNG. Another thing with animations, so I haven't done this because one time I did it and I didn't have very good luck with it, but I do know that Blue Monkey does it, and if you're watching all these tutorials, you're probably going to hear me mention Blue Monkey a lot. So he actually renders his animations as PNG, and he puts it in a folder, and it has like thousands of pictures in there, and then he puts them all together with a program and makes it into a video file. So if you want to do that, save it as PNG and set this to all frames. But yeah, if you just want to, I just set it to AVI for animations. There it is, AVI movie down here, and for pictures, PNG. Do I have this set on? Yeah, current frame, just to make sure. You don't really need to mess with anything. I will tell you about alpha channel. So if you're making one that's not in a Minecraft world and you want the background to be transparent so you can use it in Photoshop and stuff, you could just click on alpha channel and it'll do that. But I do not want to do that in this render, so I'm going to uncheck that. Multipass, you can ignore that. Anti-aliasing, so I usually have it at best, and I set the minimum level to 1x1 and the max to 2x2. If you wanted to, you could set it to geometry. I used to do that, but I have it at best now. Threshold, 10%. Let's see, filter doesn't really matter, I don't think. I just leave it on cubic still image. Pretty much leave this at all the defaults. MIP scale 50. If you want to double check, you could like pause the video and look at these, but I'm just going to go on. Options, you could uncheck blurriness. That's actually, I probably should do that. You don't really need to, but you should. If you are making an animation, I would actually recommend like cutting these in half, so setting 15 to 7, this other 15 to 7 on ray depth and shadow depth. Set those to 7, and then reflection depth, you can set that to like 3. But I'm not making an animation at the moment, so I'm not going to do that. I think that's all in there. You can ignore this and ignore this. Global illumination. So how you get this is you go effect, and then it'll be down here. So I could actually effect global illumination. That's where you find it, but I already have it up here, so it took it out of this list. But usually it would be in this list. So again, Blue Monkey does not use global illumination, and I will go over that. So if you do want to use global illumination, here are the settings. So I have preset custom, and then you know what, I'll just open these things and you can look at it. Yeah, second method, none, samples, low. This is set to low. All that stuff. I didn't do anything with this, and I don't think I did anything with that, but you can pause the video and set your settings to look like these if you want. So, I mean, you don't even need to really change these settings. You could just leave it, but if you want it to render a little faster, you could set it to a custom one like I did and set it to low. Next, glow. This is optional. You really don't need this. I have it on, but I usually remove it. So if you do put it on, set the size to 3 and the intensity to 5. Set the intensity to 5. Yeah. And that's pretty much it in there. I'm gonna actually delete this because I don't need it. You could use color correction, but you don't need to. I like to have it because, to me, my wallpapers don't look good. They look like gray almost if you don't put this on, but if you want to, you could add color correction and set the saturation to 20 and the contrast to 20. If that's too much, you could just set this to like 10 and 10 instead of 20. It's pretty much in there. Lens effect. This is if you want lens flares, like I mentioned in one of the other tutorials. You don't need it, but it's nice to have. And if you forget to add it, when you put a lens flare on the light or whatever you're putting it on, usually it'll like add it in the render settings for you. Object glow. This is just objects like textures that glow. It'll put a glow around it. I like to have that. Another thing, right now it is on my render settings, so you could just right click this and remove. Well, if you're doing this for the first time, that's not going to be there, but since I did render settings load preset, it's there. Anyway, yeah, back to this ambient occlusion. I usually don't have ambient occlusion on with global illumination, but I'm actually going to remove, well, I'll keep it there just for tutorials, but I usually don't use global illumination. I try not to. It does slow down render time, and if you're using it in animation, it will like make the shadows flash. So anyway, ambient occlusion, if you do use this, I would probably set the minimum samples. I think this was like 40, and the maximum were like 200 or 100, I think. I don't know. I usually actually don't change these. Don't forget to check evaluate transparency, so click that. And another thing that I've been kind of testing with, I'm not quite sure if I want to use it or not, but I have it there, is this, the chase thing. I think that's how you say it. I click enable chase and set this to low and set the smoothing to 0. So yeah, I don't know if you need that or not. I just like to have it, and then it'll like gray out these things so you can't set them, so it kind of does it for you. But yeah, that's what I have for that. I'm gonna turn this off for now, and I'll close them. And now if you render this out, it still might not look as good, just because there's no lights. The sky here is kind of acting like a light, and this is global illumination. It adds this like black thing, or not black, but it adds all the dots, and then it renders out the color, and you can see that it looks already a lot better than it did earlier when we had it. So and it does take a lot longer. You can see 29 seconds, and usually when you actually render it out, it takes like even more time. So yeah, that's why I don't use global illumination, but I'm going to show you both ways to do it. So that is how to set up your render settings. That's the way I do it. It might not be the best way, but that seems like the way a lot of people do it, and that's the way I do it. So that's pretty much it for this video, and I will see you next time.